Tonight, President Trump set to give his first speech before a joint session of Congress since returning to office in January.
A live look from Capitol Hill right now, where White House officials say the president will address the economy, Ukraine, and immigration during tonight's speech. Let's go to Natalie Brand in Washington with a preview of tonight. President said he will not hold back.
That's right, Chris and Natalie, good morning to you. The White House says the theme of tonight's speech will be the renewal of the American dream. It's expected to touch on foreign and domestic policy. The president also expected to push Congress to pass additional funding for border security. But this major speech comes amid some deep divisions over some of the administration's major moves so far.
Weeks into a whirlwind second term in office, President Trump will address Congress and the country with the economy in focus. Yesterday, the president teased he'll also discuss Ukraine, days after his Oval Office clash with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
You don't have the cards.
CBS News has confirmed the White House has paused military aid to Ukraine, even as President Trump pushes for a peace deal with Russia and an economic agreement to mine Ukraine's earth minerals.
I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal.
President Trump's domestic agenda is expected to be front and center tonight, including stepped-up immigration enforcement and sweeping efforts to shrink the size of the federal government.
White House officials say billionaire Elon Musk will be among the guests in the room amid growing anger over mass federal worker firings and cuts advocated through the Department of Government Efficiency.
When did Elon Musk get the power?
Several congressional Democrats say they're split over whether or not to attend. Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin will deliver their party's formal response.
Now, a number of Democratic lawmakers have also invited recently fired federal workers as their special guests tonight, and that includes Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who says among his guests will be a disabled veteran who was fired from the Buffalo VA and also a former USDA worker who worked with farms and rural businesses upstate. Chris, Natalie?
All right, Natalie, thank you very much. New York Congressman Adriano Espaillat will deliver the Democratic Spanish language response to tonight's presidential address. Espaillat represents the 13th district, covering Upper Manhattan and parts of the West Bronx. And be sure to stay with CBS News New York for the latest on Trump's address to Congress tonight. We'll have coverage of that, plus the Democratic response right here on CBS 2. That begins at 9 p.m. And our Marsha Kramer will be in D.C. ahead of the president's address. You can look for her reports right here starting at 5 p.m. this evening.
Yes, and meanwhile, President Trump's long-threatened tariffs against Canada and Mexico are now in effect, putting global markets on edge, and this will likely have a big impact on prices here. Our Elijah Westbrook joins us live from the New York Stock Exchange in Lower Manhattan with more on what this means for you. Elijah.
Hey, good morning to you, Natalie. So prices on essentials like heating your home, putting gas in your car, tequila, and all things, if you consider that an essential, will go up. At least it's expected to in the next few weeks, according to economists. And this is because President Trump, as you mentioned, imposed those 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% on China, saying they haven't done enough to stop drugs from coming across the border. This Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his country would impose retaliatory tariffs on more than $100 billion of American goods over the course of 21 days. And we're just learning China has jumped on that bandwagon and is imposing up to 15% tariffs on U.S. farm products, including chicken, pork, soy, and beef. Now, one study found the new taxes could cost the average U.S. family more than $1,200 a year. But Trump says the changes will push people to buy more American and says there's a simple solution for countries that want to avoid these costs.
What they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
And to emphasize his point on Monday, Trump hosted the CEO of Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing, who pledged to invest $100 billion in new manufacturing plants here in the U.S. He says Honda has ditched his plan to open a new plant in Mexico and instead choosing Indiana to avoid those tariffs. But here locally, New York Governor Kathy Hochul is worried about the ripple effects. In fact, later on this morning, she's expected to conduct a roundtable discussion with farmers and other agriculture leaders to get a better understanding of the impacts it'll have on them. In the meantime, we are live right now from Lower Manhattan. Elijah Westbrook, CBS News, New York.
Okay, Elijah, thank you.